Hello everyone, this is Melanie from Melanie B's Creative Studio and Melanie B's Creative Supplies, and I have something very cool in this package and I don't even know what it is. Well, I mean, I do kind of in general know what it is. About 4 weeks ago, Nadia from Norgeson reached out to me and asked me if I would like a line of paint by number kits designed for me by Norgeson, and I was honored, to say the very least. Nadia's husband Jan actually does all the artwork for Norgeson, and he contacted me and asked me which style of paintings I would want for my new collection. And for those who know me, you know that I am very attracted to coastal and sunsets and beach settings. And he said, what makes you really love that style? And I'd never given it any thought. It occurred to me that there were a lot of reasons that beach and coastal themes appealed to me so much. And I get a little choked up. But when my oldest son Logan was still alive, and he's the oldest of 4 children, we used to take family beach trips, and that was the happiest that my kids were. That was the happiest that my family was. And without going into too many details, the memories of those trips are some of my most valuable and cherished. In addition, we always went with my parents, and my dad, who is no longer alive either, he passed away about 2 years ago. He would stand on the beach and watch my children as they rode the waves or played in the sand. Or he walked the beach with the kids. He would take them fishing. He would rent fishing boats so we could take them out shark fishing and things like that. So my children got to experience all these wonderful things because of my parents. So it occurred to me that it's not just the color palettes that really appeal to me, but it's that my happiest memories with my children, with my dad and my parents, and even with my husband now, are at the beach. So I don't know which 2 paintings that they've designed for me to start my new collection at Norgeson, but this is the first one. I haven't opened it, as you can see. When I open this kit, it will be the first time I'm seeing it along with you. This is the first time I have reviewed a Norgeson painting since 2.5 years ago, when they had their original kits with the little paint tubes, which they can't do anymore because of their growing family. They have 2 babies now, and so they've had to change a lot of things with their company. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to see what this design is, because I told them not to send me what the designs look like. I wanted to be surprised when I open the kits. And so let's do this reveal, and then we'll talk about the contents. And I want to go through and swatch the paints. I want to paint on the canvas. I want to talk about how you paint a Norgeson. It's not the same as every other paint by number that you purchase. So we need to talk about that. So let's get to it. Okay, I got the contents out, and I debated on pushing play. That's my dad, and that's my little girl. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to try to regain my composure here. I opened the package and just sobbed. So the kits were designed not just for me and moments that I personally shared, but they're supposed to be about moments that you share with your family. This image could represent anyone, but for me, that's my dad. And that's my little girl Tegan. And he used to do that with all my kids. The representation of this is absolutely incredible. So let's talk about this kit. And I'm already impressed because I haven't seen one of their new kits and the way they're designed. So it came with the 2 storage boxes. It has 36 paint colors, you guys. Now, a lot of you have been talking about how things are so different with Norgeson now, and I understand. When I first introduced Norgeson paintings to you, they were doing everything in-house. They did not have children, and they were hand producing all of their kits. They only had, maybe I think 10 designs, 12 designs. Now they have expanded their line. Their artwork is phenomenal. Jan paints all the artwork himself, so everything you see is his work. Then they take those designs and they have them produced in a factory, but there's no way possible that with 2 little baby girls that they can do this themselves anymore. So this company is a family-owned business in Norway with 2 girls under the age of 2. Okay, so you are getting paint pots and not the little tubes anymore, but the same paint quality that we got before. We're also getting a pack of artist paintbrushes. We're gonna have a nice variation of round brushes here included with our kits. And then we're gonna have our canvas, which we're gonna look at in just a minute. So they've given us the stickers that we need. These are the labels with the numbers on them to apply to the paint pots. For those of you who are new to paint by number, basically what you do, the number here is gonna coordinate with the color on the paint pot. So I'm just going to pull out a paint pot and show you what I mean. On the top of each paint pot is a number. So on this one, it's 2214. On this color chart, 2214 is number 33. The number 33 is going to go on top of this paint pot. Now, when they print these in a factory, they tend to do it upside down in the way that we open our paint pots. So I like to put my label on in the direction that I'm going to open my paint pot. So that is how these get numbered. Now, if there are duplicates in here, which it will tell you beside that number, so number 4, it shows me there are 2 pieces. So I want to make sure that when I go through these, that I have 2 of color 372. I may not have 2 of that sticker. I have labels that I sell in my store that are just the blank labels like this. You can add to the top of your paint pots that don't have a circle already. Okay, so I will number these paint pots, then we'll talk about the canvas, and then I'll come back after I have swatched the paints and we'll talk about this palette. And then we're going to talk about how to paint a Norgeson. So I'll be back. Okay, so I have all of the paint pots numbered based on what I was given here. I went ahead and just put them in the box in order. I have my extras over here and I took the blank label stickers and just wrote number 4, number 17 on there, and those extras are in this box. The next thing I want to show you is how I swatch these particular paints, because the Norgeson method is completely different in how you paint their paintings than every other paint by number kit on the market. When I brought you Norgeson paintings, I showed you that you use IMPASTO, which is texture, dimension, and even though their kits were a little bit different then than how they are now, the method is the same. So we're going to start from scratch. We are going to jump into the new kits. I'm going to show you how to do that again with my own new kits. But I'm going to be able to show you how to do that with the paints that we're given now. Okay, so the way I swatched the paints for this kit was different. And the reason I did it is you see how tiny these little swatches are, and it gives us an indication of what they're going to look like. But when you see them on a larger scale, it's a little bit easier to really see the colors. And you can see how absolutely stunningly gorgeous these colors are. Very muted, natural palette, but fantastic, you guys. Now, there are lots of them that if you only put down the original layer they're going to be transparent paints by nature. But because we create texture with these kits, we're going to build up that extra layer on top. And that's giving us the depth and dimension that we use for Norgeson paintings. That's how we get this look. By using impasto or texture in our layers, we are creating shadows and light that is allowing us to have that millions of colors that we need for our painting, and giving us all that depth that is going to make our final project look more real. So although your first layer, when you put it down, you may look at it and go, oh my gosh, that is a transparent paint. We're not paying attention to that in these kits. So when I show you how to paint these kits, that's going to be the focus. That's what I want to show you how to do. You can do this with any kit you have. This is not just exclusive to Norgeson, but Norgeson kits are designed to be painted this way. You do not paint Norgeson paint by numbers with the flow method. Absolutely not ever. So when you get a transparent paint and when you're swatching, you don't say, oh gosh, I'm going to have to paint that with the flow method. That's not how their kits are designed. They're designed to be painted with this method, which is going to give you all those millions of colors because of the shadows, the shading, the light that the dimension creates. And you're going to see that as I work. So let's look at the canvas so that we can start painting on this. I love the way they have packaged it. I was able to name these kits, and it is called Sweet Memories. Jan, which is how I finally found out how to pronounce Nadia's husband's name, recreated this photo that I took 20 years ago of my dad and my daughter letting her jump waves. This is one of the sweetest memories I have in her 23 years of life. And my dad did pass away 2.5 years ago, but he didn't have a memory for 10 years before that. This is one of the most precious memories I have of them together. There is a reference guide. So of course that is an important component in the kits. And I'm just going to move this away so we can take a really close look at the canvas. The lines are not dark, but they're dark enough to see, which is fantastic. And the numbers are red and they are not super bold, which is also perfect. That way it doesn't take a lot to cover them. I want to point out that Norgeson did a lot of research before they had to find a factory to turn their kits over to, because they always did them in-house. They really wanted to make sure they gave their heart and soul to a reputable company. The company that makes their kits now is the same company that produces two of the most popular paint by number companies. And you guys will rave about your experience with those companies, but then you might complain about the Norgeson kits. And it's because you are expecting what they used to produce and now can't do anymore because of the changes in their family. The quality is wonderful. And I'm not saying that because my name is on these. I'd already purchased a couple of kits from them a few months ago. I just haven't had time to actually get in there and do a review on them because I've just been crazy busy, but I haven't stopped loving their kits just because they changed their contents or the way they produce them. So the texture on the surface isn't slick, which is nice because then for those of you who do not gesso with clear gesso on the surface, you're not going to have to worry about it being super slick and plasticky and, you know, those things that a lot of people worry about with cheap canvases, because this is not a cheap canvas. One thing I like, if you go to stretch this canvas yourself, it gives you these lines to line it up on each corner. That's fantastic. I love it. The question is going to be, for those who want to know, and you know I'm going to do a test on this, is clear gesso or no clear gesso? Which clear gesso is going to work the best? I promised I was going to do this in all the videos for 2023 when I did a review. So I'm going to do it today. First, we're going to paint a small area, and then we're going to do an area with clear gesso. Well, because we're also going to be doing this with the impasto technique, with or without gesso, may not make any difference at all. And that's what we're going to find out. I'm going to go ahead and prep the surface so that it's ready to go and I don't have to stop and do that. So let me take care of that and I will be right back. This section has no gesso. This section has Art Basics gesso, which is the matte finish with no texture. And this has the Liquitex. So let me jump in here and do a time lapse and then we'll compare after I am done to see if it's worth the effort to add any clear gesso at all. I finished the 3 sections. It didn't really create any significant differences, but I still find it easier for me personally to paint on when it has a Liquitex layer. This canvas accepts the paint really nicely and it doesn't have a ton of the divots in it. So honestly, I don't think you would have to prep anything on this canvas. Let's move on to painting some of this beautiful Sweet Memories paint by number. I have my photo reference because I do like to look at which section is going to need that extra depth. I have my swatch guide just for color purposes, and I'm going to attempt to use the round brushes that are included in the kit, but I do know me and I tend to reach for my own brushes just because that's what I'm used to. I have primarily the flat brushes handy. Sometimes I like to put down my first layer with the flat brush and then I will go in and maybe use a round brush to create extra texture in like the hair and those kinds of areas, because it does give a really nice dimension to things like that, like hair or fur or things like ships where they have the lines in the surface. So I'm going to keep these handy. I have 2 water cups over here to the side with the Melanie B's 3-in-1 brush cleaning system, the lid, and a rubber scrubber down on the bottom of each. In addition, I have stainless steel stirring sticks in one of the cups, and I have the entire 3-in-1 brush cleaning system set up for making sure my brushes stay nice and pointy. Of course, I'm going to have the paints. I will primarily be using the 0 mini flat, the 10/0 detail flat, the 2/0 mini flat, and this one is currently sold out at my shop, but they are being produced, may not be available to the 1st of February. The 5/0 mini flat is also sold out at my shop. Those are the ones that sell out the fastest. You'll notice that I do not smooth out a lot of the first layer like I normally would with other paintings. A lot of times we focus on making sure that we're smoothing as we go, and in this situation I'm not really trying to do that. I'm not adding a ton of extra texture to her hand, but I am going to make sure that when this painting is complete, that anything on her body and my dad's body are the primary focus, so that they will definitely have more dimension than anything else in this painting. And you'll notice how quickly you can get through the process because you're not having to smooth the layers. What I like to do, and I'm using, the 2/0 flat brush and not a round, but I can pat on some extra paint and just leave it there. I don't smooth it out. This is just kind of my method to do this, but I like that texture that it leaves. Now, when I get into the hair, I'm going to add a lot more of the dimension. After the first layer dries, I'll come back with the round brushes and add more texture to that section. While I've got number 28, I'm going to go in to the hair area. And you'll notice I'm picking up a lot more paint than usual and really thick on my brush, and I'm not wiping off the excess. This is why the flow method is not the technique you want to use for a Norgeson painting. Now, any paint I have left here on my brush, I'm just gonna go ahead and just tap it in. It may take a little longer for this thicker paint to dry, and I'm not trying to pile it on this first layer, but I'm also not smoothing it out as much as I normally would either. I don't want it on my ferrule. I'm gonna get the excess off my brush, because you do not ever want it up on your ferrule. This is why a lot of brushes get frayed. If you get it on the ferrule, you're getting it up between the bristles here at the ferrule. Make sure you get it off there. Don't get all that paint out from in between. That's what causes it to kind of go like that later. So you can see I got all of that out by running it across that little rubber scrubber. And now I can go back in, be a little bit more careful with avoiding the ferrule. When you go to purchase one of the Norgeson paintings, and the links I'm going to include in the description below are the affiliate links that I have for these kits, which means that I do get a percentage of the sales of the 2 kits that are available right now. They're going to design more for my collection in the future, which I'm so excited about. But when you purchase these, I do recommend that you get the extra paints, and I think it's like an extra $10 to add an extra set of paints, because if you want to really add the extra dimension, you don't want to feel like you're not going to have the paints for it. And for a lot of you, you're not comfortable mixing your own paints, and that just takes that extra anxiety off. And it is a lot more expensive to go back later and say, hey, can I order an extra set of paints, than it is to get them while you're ordering the kit. And that's just my recommendation. I don't make any more money if you add that extra set of paints. I'd rather have those extra paints and use them for something else in the future than not have them when I need them. So that's just my advice to you. So I've got that first layer down, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of work in the hair area. And then I can show you how to make that look very textured with the round brushes. And I'm just going to continue with the same process. I'm not worried about whether 28 was dry. If I overlap that edge a little bit, it's fine. But you can see how quickly you actually can paint with this method because it's more relaxed. And you guys see how creamy these paints are. Very beautiful. I love the texture of them. Honestly, there's no real difference between the paint quality that came in their first sets in their original kits and this paint, other than they were in tubes and they were cute. You know, as soon as I close the paint pot, I'm going to find another 15. And that's just how this goes. That's Murphy's Law. And I don't know who Murphy is, but he's kind of a jackass. Why are we following his laws? Why he get to make all the laws? Kind of in that zone of line schmines. It's one of my other sayings that I love to use, because I know when I go back and add my second layer, it's not going to matter if I was really kind of like not too concerned about my first layer of lines. Now, when it comes to the separation of her head and the water, yeah, maybe that line is a little more important, but these lines in the middle of her head, not so much. Plus, I'm sitting back far enough that it's not exactly easy to see where the lines are. Okay, so now that I have all of the hair done, you'll notice that this part is dark on her back, and that's because of the shadows that are created and the way the sun is coming in. So if you'll notice that the sun is over here on this side of this image, and it's coming from this direction, and it is highlighting her little pink skin over here, and that means it's casting the shadows on the left side of her body. So that means it's going to be darker right here and on this side. So a lot of people, when they get a paint by number, they're like, why is this so dark? Her skin is not this dark. No, naturally it wouldn't appear that way because she has fair skin. And like people used to call her Snow White because her skin was so milky white and she had this very dark hair. But in the sun with her little pink kind of tan going on, when the sun is hitting it in this direction, it's going to cast some super dark shadows at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And it's going to make her skin appear very pink on this side, very dark on this side. And so before you look at a painting and you start trying to understand why certain palettes are certain colors, finish the painting, or at least continue to work on that aspect of it. And then it will start to make sense to you, I promise. But you're going to see how this is going to come together, and it's going to be spectacular. So in a minute, I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and start adding that texture that we talked about. So I'll be right back. Now let's go in and start adding the texture to the hair. I'm going to be using the round brushes they provided us with our kit. To know what colors I've used here, since I'm going back over the top, I can either use the reference guide or I can use the swatches that I made here. If her hair is blowing in this direction, that's the direction that I'm going to be adding the texture and pulling the brush. So that's what you're going to see me doing. I will do this in time lapse. So let's get going. All right, so you can see how textured and how the wind looks like it's blowing her hair, and her hair has strands. A lot of people might look at this and say, why is there this color in her hair? Well, basically it's the reflection of the water bouncing off of her hair and in the highlights. If you look at it in the photo, you can see those colors. Once I'm done with this painting, it's going to make a lot more sense when I have the overall finished piece. On my Facebook group, we always say, go ahead and just keep working on the piece. It'll come together, because it will come together. Now, I do want to point out that this photo reference is different because of calibration settings on printers. What you're seeing on the website is more accurate than this photo that is provided. So the one that you're seeing when you purchase is the one that you're going to be getting when you get your kit, which is always a good thing. Now, keep in mind that everybody's display on their phone or their device is different than everybody else's, so, But I hope you're able to see this texture. I will try to take a photo and insert it for you so that you really see it. For right now, I'm going to call this video done. And if you're interested in me coming back and showing you how I have painted some of the other areas of this painting, I would be happy to do that. Or the other painting I'm going to be bringing to you. So let me know about that in the comments below. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Don't forget to go to melanieb.info for lots of other information like shopping links and how to connect with me on all my social media. The links for this particular painting and the other brand new Norgeson and Melanie B collaboration will be there as well. And all of the products that I use to paint this kit. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you back soon.